You're watching Raptors Today. I'm Savanna Hamilton, joined alongside with Sherman Hamilton and Paul Jones. Guys, there's tons of news to get to. And of course, we got to start off with the breaking news being Amalie Arena is no longer hosting fans for the Raptors. Now, if you throw up the board, the NBA and the NBPA did come to some agreements when it comes to short-term and potentially long-term safety protocols in the NBA. I'm just going to read them out real quick. Such as face masks at all times for the benches and locker rooms. Players are only allowed to fist bump when socializing pre and post game. Pre-game team meetings will be restricted to 10 minutes. And then at home, the players and staff must remain home except for team activities and essentials. And then on the road, will no longer be able to dine out at pre-approved restaurants like they were before. They must remain at the hotel for emergencies only. Jonesy, kick us off. What are your thoughts to these restrictions?
Well, the players seem to be giving up a lot, and it's obviously in the interest of keeping the season going. I mean, you think about it, the numbers are going crazy right now everywhere, and Amalie Arena not having any fans in the stands, all these concessions being made. We heard it from the Raptors when they were out on this last West Coast trip in California that they had to stay in their rooms. Even when they went down to a ballroom to retrieve their meals, they couldn't sit even socially distanced, two at a large round table. They had to take it back to their room. So the entire country, entire continent, North America, struggling with the virus. And if the players are going to try and keep the NBA going and push through to have a season and bring it to a conclusion, some of these new protocols have to be put in place. So it's difficult. It's going to make it difficult obviously for walkthroughs and for any kind of practice. And, they've got special chairs for when guys come off the court. They're really trying to curtail the virus. And I admire them for doing it. And if they don't do it, we may lose the season. So good for them to agreeing to all of this, and the owners, general managers, everybody for taking collective action.
It's a fine line, as you two know. I mean, it's a balancing act right now, and it's a difficult situation to be in. I mean, amongst trying to figure out how to continue to play NBA basketball, there's lives and situations that are much more important that are going on right now that have to be. So incorporating that mentality into these decisions is crucial for the NBA, and they've been great at making sure they keep what's important through this whole process. And that's everybody's health, not only in the NBA, but also outside of the NBA. Everybody's health and safety has to be paramount and first priority. And they're doing it. Yes, it's going to take adjustments. And yes, it's going to take a lot of those sacrifices. But at the end of the day, if we want to see NBA basketball for as long as we can see it, because it's becoming very tenuous now with the games that are being and all the players and people that are being impacted by this, that if this is going to continue, they've got to walk that fine line and continue to, keep on pulling things back as necessary to make sure that they can, at some point, find some clarity, if possible, to return to something close to normal. But right now, you do what you can, and the NBA is doing a good job of staying on top of it.
Now, Coach Nick Nurse and Fred VanVleet shared their thoughts at today's practice on the new protocols.
Well, I think they're hoping does, Doug. I think there's, obviously rise for concern, more cases, more contact tracing, obviously a handful of postponements. And I just, they're just trying to step it up a level and do anything they can to keep the games going. I think we all are okay, doing them. Or at least trying to do them the best of our ability. It isn't always easy. Sometimes I'm in the huddle or on the floor and I'm doing all kinds of things to try to keep my mask on, but let guys hear me. And after the third time they say, Coach, I can't hear what you're saying. It's, every now and then you got to try to pull it down quick, but I got to try to limit that the best I can. And sometimes in the heat of the battle, it's difficult, but saying that, we got to do a little better job. I got to do a better job, and we'll try to do as best I can.
I mean, we're human, and we all have different emotions and different feelings about it. And you feel differently about it every day. So, I mean, if you're asking me today, I'm not terribly upset about any of the things we have to do. It just kind of is what it is at this point, and we'll try to make the most of it and get through it. It does feel like it's getting a bit much, from that standpoint. Like trying to plug holes, which, you know, in a sinking boat. But hopefully we can get through this rough patch here. I think the league anticipated January being a tough spot for us. So hopefully we can get through it and, you know, these protocols work, but just continue to be optimistic and positive about it because it's not changing anytime soon. So either, you know, get with the program or stay home. And I'm at work today.
Now, the Raptors came back home 1-3 on the road, but I want to keep in mind this one stat here. Now, 4 out of the 8 losses were lost by 5 points or less. Talk about heartbreaking for the fans and for everybody who's watching, of course. But, you know, Jonesy, I'm going to go to you. What's your reaction? These were some winnable games.
They really were. And you know, Savanna, Sherman and I talked about this on the radio as doing a couple of those games. Raptor fans have been spoiled. Especially if you're an 18 or 19-year-old. I mean, all you've known is winning for the last 7 years. And part of the winning is winning close games. Last year, the Toronto Raptors were 17-6 in games that were 3 points or less with a minute to go. This year, they're 0-4. And those are games that we, you know, look at the Raptors and Raptor fans would say, they have the experience. They understand what's going on. They're going to win a close game. Right now, it's not happening. So, yeah, they've all been winnable games, but this team with new personnel needs to kind of recalibrate, relearn how to win close games, what to do down the stretch in close games, who to get the ball to, when to get the ball to them. That being said, it's still a make or miss league. In the last 2 games, lost by 1 point, Pascal Siakam had a shot go halfway down and then had another one from, you know, six feet in. So I'm encouraged by what I see, but it's time that they start putting some W's, some notches in the left-hand column.
It's difficult. It's very difficult when you think about how the Raptors are trying to, you know, get these W's in terms of being a team that's consistent, a team that understands kind of the expectations surrounding them both externally and internally. It's very difficult right now to swallow those losses. However, on the inside with that team, and we can see it as people who cover the team, we can see they're getting better. We can see there are strides that are being made. Fans don't want to hear it, though. Fans don't want to hear that conversation. But the truth is we're seeing better play from Pascal with consistency. We're seeing, you know, Kyle and Fred do what they do. We're seeing spots where different guys are stepping up at different points, but it's a win or loss league. And when you're not winning games, nothing makes sense to fans. But understand that they are making some improvements. And although people don't want to hear it, I saw on this road trip their ability, as Savanna, you pointed out, you know, you're losing games by 5 points or less. That means you're in a lot of them. You're probably leading a lot of them. So the fix isn't as far away as it seems at the end of the day when that loss comes aboard. So I just think that that's got to be the goal internally, stay focused on that aspect and you hope that they can turn some of those close losses into wins.
You know, one of those close losses into wins was, you know, in the hands of Pascal, and a lot of fans are still pinpointing him as the guy to blame or the scapegoat. But, you know, we got to give credit where credit is due. Pascal has been playing tremendously over this past road trip, feeling like he's found his stride again in the past 5 games. So, Jonesy, what have you noticed in Pascal's demeanor and attitude that's different this?
Well, one of the things that I really hearken back to is when Pascal was in the bubble, he talked about at times not having that joy, that kind of boyish enthusiasm that he liked to play with. He seems to be getting some of that back with his focus and kind of simplifying the game as we talk about it. You know, he's taking the ball to the basket. We've seen the return of the spin move. We see him, you know, staying out of foul trouble. All of those things that the Raptors need him to do, he's doing them at a higher level right now. And he just needs a few more shots to go down here. The team just needs a couple more breaks. But let's face it, he is playing better. And, you know, a lot of people are looking at the last shot in a couple of instances and throwing that shade, that blame at Pascal. Well, listen, he had a career, his first career triple-double in the game against Portland. And I thought that game was lost. There were mistakes made maybe in the middle of the quarter that could have given them a buffer towards the end. Give Portland credit too. McCollum and Lillard, a dynamic duo, very difficult to stop. But getting back to your original question about Pascal, Savanna, I'm just seeing him retunneling his focus and rechanneling his energies in the right way, and a certain joy in his game. It'll be a lot more joyful when he starts hanging up wins too.
Hey, you know that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Savannah. No, you're good.
No, I was going to say that we know as the three of us, former players, every free throw counts, every play counts, defensive turnover, everything counts. So don't pin it on the last play. Now, Sherm, Pascal has been, working on his passing. He's been making plays and that's been opening things up on the offensive side for him. What have you seen when it comes to Pascal's passing?
Well, I'm seeing more awareness. I'm seeing quicker recognition. And, sometimes in being a playmaker in terms of finding teammates, they look for the perfect play. The simplicity of the play sometimes is all that's expected and required in certain situations. And I think we saw early in the season, Pascal attracting two players, then trying to thread the needle on the pass. Now we're seeing him just get it out to the open man and have that ball move on its own, unless he finds that direct line to a pass for a score. But because he's been able to simplify that aspect, his awareness and overall understanding of the spacing of guys on the floor, and then there's a familiarity that continues to build as the season goes on. And the great thing about Pascal to me is that he's a willing passer. So this is not a guy who you're trying to pull teeth to say, hey, can you just get rid of the basketball and let somebody else do something? He knows what's expected of him. He knows the pressure and the focus that's on him, but he understands in order to win, he's going to have to be more than just a scorer. So his playmaking ability is coming along. He's seeing things and he's making better decisions. And that's just going to help his scoring at the end of the day. When he moves that basketball and teams see they're getting hurt by that ball movement, he's going to see maybe some more one-on-one situations where he can attack and he can put the ball in the basket.
Ball movement is one of those things that the Raptors really pride themselves on. Thank you, guys. We'll be right back with you guys. But right now, part of the show where we got to go back to RTX, our previous conversation we had today. This is RTX, and back on the show, we got Amy Audibert, Raptors 905 color analyst. Amy, pleasure having you back on this season.
Yeah, Sav, I'm so happy to be here and getting really excited about, a special G League debut that's going to happen soon. So let's get chatting.
And new to RTX, but definitely not to NBA TV Canada. You've seen him on the Hangout, but his main gig is with Breakfast Television, sports and entertainment specialist Devo Brown. Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
It's good. Pleasure to have you on here.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk some Raptors, so I'm ready when you are.
All right, let's talk some ball then. Okay. So the Raptors, they had the West Coast trip. The results, maybe not what we wanted to see, some heartbreaking losses. We all felt that pain. We all wanted it so bad for them. But, for me, when I was watching, they looked like a different team when they came into it versus how they left it. Now, Amy, I'll go to you first for this, but what was your biggest takeaway from the West Coast trip?
I think it was more of a confirmation that this season is going to be a crawl, walk, run type of journey. We knew right from the start they weren't necessarily going to look the same right off the bat, and it's taken time on top of a condensed training camp, a team that has been on the road essentially for over 2 months now. It wasn't going to look pretty right off the start, and they're going to have to continue to learn how to develop together during games. Now, I'm not going to, if you talk to any of the guys, being 2-8 right now is not the expectation, I think, for anybody. We're a little spoiled up here. We're used to the Raptors winning ball games. And so, yeah, that West Coast trip finishing 1-4, those guys, I'm sure they're not proud of it, but they certainly are showing, obviously, the compete levels getting up. And it's not that they didn't care at the beginning. It's just, again, like a whole, new roles, new positions, new rotations. Not a lot of time in training camp to figure it out. And so I think it's just, for me, it's just a steady climb. All right. So now the thing here, Sav, is 2-8. Every game weighs a little bit more with a condensed season. And so now you've got to start winning those ball games. And these next two ones against Charlotte, to me, are going to be huge, just not good enough to compete anymore. Now you've got to start getting those W's because we are in a little bit of a hole here.
You know what? I'd say this. They're better than the record. We understand that, but what have you done for me lately? You've given me a heart attack 2 nights in a row is what you've done. The roller coaster of emotions that I've had back-to-back nights. It didn't work in night 1 when you got Pascal trying to take that game-winning shot. It didn't work in night 2. What do you do there in those clutch moments? Who do you got? That's been the question after Kawhi left. Who is going to be that 1A? Do we have that still? I think that's what it is, and that's what they still need to figure out. Or is it going to be a team effort? Maybe don't put yourself in that situation in the first place and just step on their throats when you get the lead. I mean, that's one thing they can try and do as well. But I think we just need to see them now put all of this into action and get those W's. If you are better than your record and you say that, now you just got to prove it.
Okay, Devo. That's on period. Okay. So it was Chris Boucher's birthday, and he stepped up a lot this season. And no, normally in birthday tradition, we give them gifts, but he's been giving the Raptors a big gift with how he's been performing. My question to you, Devo, I'll go back to you, is just how big of a gift has he been to the Raptors, and can he consistently step up like this throughout the season?
First of all, mon frère, and merci pour le cadeau. Thank you for the gift. That is you. Appreciate that, Chris Boucher. 14 plus points, 6 plus rebounds, basically doubling everything he did last season. But let's double the minutes. You know what? If you don't start him, that's cool, but make sure he's playing the majority of the minutes at that position. And you saw that on the road trip, and you saw at least 2 of those games, the same ones I was mentioning about that heart attack situation. You saw what he did in those games. And I think he is your best option at the center position, because if you're not putting him in there and you're going small ball, you got Pascal at the 5. And I don't think that's the right place for Pascal to be there. And it doesn't put him in a great situation as well. So Boucher is nice. He's got to continue to develop. And I think he can consistently do this the entire season. We saw him do it at the end of the last season in the bubble as well.
And I'll just say, Devo, I don't have the French, but what I do have is some great memories from Chris Boucher. I was fortunate to start covering a bit of 905 during that 2018-19 campaign when he was Defensive Player of the Year VP. And to me, the one thing that will always resonate me for the rest of his career was Chris Boucher coming off a back-to-back-to-back, 3 games in a row, G League, NBA, back to G League. And at halftime, I had an interview with him at halftime because he was lighting it up. And he understands the process and he understands the grind. This isn't a guy that's hitting instant success. And that to me is the foundation for a great career. And the intangible, the energy, he's there, he's providing that. And it's so fun to just watch him kind of mature and have Kyle and have Freddie and Pascal provide this leadership, and him just now starting to find the success on a national stage. I love him coming off the bench. I think he does insert that energy, and I think he's going to be a huge part as the Raptors continue for the rest of the season.
100%. And he's currently 3rd in the league, I believe, for blocks per game. Despite the fact that he's not getting the maximum minutes he could be.
Tied with Rudy Gobert at 2. That's the thing. Tied with Rudy Gobert. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's awesome. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. I get excited about him.
Yeah. So good. So good. Yeah.
So we got to keep it moving. We got to be very quick here at the end here. But Amalie Arena and, the organization that runs there, they announced that there will be no more fans in the building. How important was that decision for Amalie to make? I'll go to you first, Amy.
Yeah, I think it was huge. Listen, I lived in Florida for 7 years. I pay a little close attention. I've got a lot of friends down there. Their governor, Ron DeSantis, has done nothing in terms of a mask mandate. Florida has been very hard in terms of getting this uncontrollable virus under control. And so actually he's made it illegal for mayors to fine people for mayors who want to have a mask mandate. They can't actually fine people. So there's no mandate to wear masks in Florida. And how do you get this under control? If people aren't going to be responsible, we're seeing it in Ontario now, right? If people aren't going to be responsible and make the right decisions, you have to protect these players and coaches. And if people aren't going to be responsible, then that decision has to be made. I fully support it. And I'm nervous for these guys. I mean, lung capacity is an issue and a long-term issue. These are professional athletes. And so I fully support it. It's important, and it has to be done for us to continue to watch these guys play.
I agree with you 100% on everything right there. And it's Florida. Let's be real about how things operate there. It's a different planet, Florida is. And those fans that were coming in anyways, they weren't cheering for the Raptors, a lot of them. So it was more of a distraction. It was still an away game It didn't feel like home. You know, you made it look all great, and Masai and Bobby, everybody did a great job of doing that. But that wasn't home with those fans. So I think it's a blessing, to be honest, that they finally made that decision. And again, it's Florida. The Tampa Bay Lightning, who play also in Tampa Bay, are going to have fans. So let's count our blessings for sure to get rid of those fans and get them out of the arena and keep that squad and the staff, everybody safe.
Yeah, you guys both touched on it. And Devo, you said that what we were all thinking about, you know, every game's an away game for the Raptors with the fans in the building sometimes. So thank you guys so much for being a part of RTX. And I hope to have you guys both back on very soon. We got to throw it back now to Paul Jones and Sherman Hamilton. The next game is against the Charlotte Hornets. It goes up on Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. TSN and TSN 1050 will have the game. You can also catch the pregame show on NBA TV Canada at 7 p.m. Now, guys, we were planning on talking about that game ahead for Charlotte, but some big news just casually broke out minutes before the show. So let's talk about it. The Brooklyn Nets made a blockbuster trade, a lot of moving pieces. It's going to affect the Atlantic Conference as well as the Eastern. Give me your thoughts, Sherm. Let me know.
Well, it's a big move. I mean, we're talking about Harden going to the Nets, and that's a significant play. You're talking about potentially Kyrie, KD, and James Harden. That's a potent offensive team. I don't think there's any trio in the league that can score more points than those guys can. I know there could be issues in terms of being one ball on the floor, but when we're talking about high caliber elite talent in the NBA, we're talking about three of the best in terms of their positions and what they do. So the Atlantic Division just got tougher from that perspective. I would only say that from a defensive perspective, I'm not sure where they land now. I mean, they apparently in this deal, Jared Allen is gone. You know, this is a team that lost Taurean Prince as well in this situation. So I'm not sure from a defensive perspective how good they're going to be. But if you want to put points on the board, this group is going to put a lot of points on the board in a lot of different ways.
Sherm, you know, I think of what you said there with the defense, and you remember who's coaching this thing, right? You remember who's coaching this thing.
I kind of know him.
Yeah, a guy that you used to run with, and in his heyday in Phoenix, Steve Nash made the 7 seconds or less Suns very potent. The guy sitting beside him led that group in Mike D'Antoni. And we used to joke about them not being able to stop people. And Mike D'Antoni's comeback to us was, well, you know, Jonesy, the team that has the most points at the end of the game is the best defensive team. And I agree with you. I wonder where they're going to shake out defensively. And they might just be of the mindset, we just need a key stop here or there. I hear you, Sherm. And they're just going to shoot them up and sleep in the streets in the summertime. The way the NBA has gone now with the proliferation and the advent of the three-point shot, with the analytics, you know, taking a heavy dose of strategy into gameplay. This might be the way, I was going to call them Phoenix, the way Brooklyn is going to run this thing. And you're right, it has definitely tipped the balance of power in the Atlantic Division. Remember, Savanna, Sherm, last year, half of the Eastern Conference playoff teams came from the Atlantic Division. Toronto, Philly, Brooklyn, Boston. You're going to have the same thing and maybe more this year if with 10 teams in the playoffs. So, Brooklyn is definitely pushing all their chips to the front of the table.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on that. I'm wondering who's going to get the ball, who's going to get the last shot there. But that wraps it all up for RT today. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching our latest episode. Make sure you subscribe to all the Toronto Raptors social channels so that you don't miss a thing.